Saturday morning, and we welcome you to Oasis, the Victory Christian Church International, where our wonderful pastor is Pastor James Spence Jr., and we are grateful and thanking him this morning for allowing me as the facilitator this morning, the second day of our 2023 Finance Conference. Woo! I was excited yesterday. I'm even more so excited. I'm running on adrenaline, and that's going to take us through this day. We will be here today from 9 until 2 p.m., unless we finish up sooner than that. And also, we are being streamed live this morning. We are on Facebook, and we are also on YouTube. And I will say I receive your messengers, I receive your text messages, I receive your voicemails, and I will respond to you. If you have questions today, I ask that you would please put them in the comment section, and we will try to get to your questions as well. Some of you had asked me questions about housing and repairing credit and different things of that nature. We will be looking at that today. And we will end with legacy. We will end with wealth building today. The wealth doesn't have to stay in the earth. The Lord gave it to the children of men, so he's given that wealth to us, but we have to learn how to get it. The earth is still giving up its treasures, the Bible says. So we got to get ourselves in position to receive it. And one way is we need to get out of debt. And yesterday we went over the debt snowball. So this morning I'm going to just give a brief synopsis of that and go over the debt snowball, because some of you had questions about the debt snowball. And so I'm going to go over that this morning. And before I do, I was up last night and I was just so excited. I've been up, I didn't go to bed until 5 o'clock. And I went to bed at 5 o'clock this morning because there was so much I was sitting up reading last night. And, I just wanted to go over a few things this morning as we start out. Many people and much of Americans, because we were going through the pandemic, they found themselves using their credit cards more than they've ever before. They were using their credit cards for everyday things, which let us know that things was getting a little bit more serious. Most people use your credit cards for vacation or, for other type things, but not for everyday things like gas and food. They normally don't do that. But they have been finding themselves doing that during this pandemic because great job losses. People weren't working, and so they had to have food on the table. People were putting rent on their credit card. So they have had now more debt than anyone. I also thought about, if the people are in debt, what does the government look like? Well, the government is really in big debt. The national debt is at $3.38 trillion right now, and the clock is steady ticking up. The reason we concern ourselves with the national debt is if they should default on July 1st, as the Secretary of Finance, Ms. Yellen, says, it's going to go haywire. And the reason it's going to go haywire, number one, anybody that receives their pension through Social Security, you will not get your check. The military personnel, they will not get paid. Government employees will not get paid. So that is why people are so concerned with, oh my goodness, they've got to come up with a deal. They've got to negotiate and do a bipartisan deal. I believe they're going to have a deal. I don't believe they're going to let the U.S. fall over the cliff financially. We have never, ever not paid our bills. And these are not new bills. This debt they're arguing over right now is debt that was already made. There's only been one time in history that, and I found this out last night. Google is my friend. I'm a graduate of Google University, and I love Google. So I wanted to know, has there ever been a time in the United States history that we had a president that paid us down to a zero debt, and we did. On January the 8th, 1835, Andrew Jackson was the first and only president that has ever paid the national debt down to $0. Excellent. That means he was a good steward of the money of the people. Now, I like to put it this way. As goes the government, so shall its people, because the government is a replica or representation of us. We send our Congress personnel, our senators to Congress because we're their constituent. We'll elect them, and they go and they represent the people most of the time. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But we send them to Congress to represent us, and they have districts in their area that they represent, and they're going to Congress to be our voice on the behalf of the people. My voice said get out of debt. I don't know if they heard me because that national debt, that 31.38 trillion. And then I thought about it. Well, if the U.S. has debt, who do we owe? Most of our debt is to two countries. Both countries are foreign, Japan and China. We owe Japan $1.8 trillion. We owe China $870 billion with a B dollars. That's a whole heap of money to owe people. And if we default on June the 1st, what happens is they, as a creditor, they can actually call in the debt. Just like our creditors can, if we don't pay as per we agreed with them, and it will stand up in any law, any court in America, what happens is they can actually call in the debt and say, nope, we're no longer receive payment from you. I want all of my money that you owe me smack dab on the desk at 9 o'clock, or I'm going to foreclose your house. I'm going to repossess your car. Whatever the debt is attached to, they're willing to take it. And trust me, when we buy a house, we say it's our house. It's not our house. We get the opportunity to live in it, but until you get that title deed, that house does not belong to you. Miss a payment or two or a few, and you find out just who owns your house. The bank, the finance company, they own your house until you get the title deed. When you receive the title deed, the house is yours. You can literally do whatever you want with it. If you want to burn it to the ground, that's up to you. I wouldn't suggest that, but you could, because arson is against the law. Now, I also was going on down, and I wondered, well, if everybody's in debt, and not everybody's in debt, they need to stop saying all Americans, because all Americans are not in debt. There are many Americans that are living debt-free lives. I told you all yesterday about Dave Ramsey. Everybody that knows anything about him knows he detests debt. And so he doesn't borrow money. If he doesn't have the money, he says they don't do the project. They don't do the project until they are fully funded. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Can we get some of that, please? Can we start saving until we have what we need to purchase what we like to purchase and won't have to do it on credit? Now, 340 million Americans carry some type of debt. 64% of Americans have credit card debt. The average debt for Americans is $96,000. During the pandemic, people were staying afloat and they acquired more debt than ever. The average debt they incurred during the pandemic is $38,000. That's a lot. That's a lot to have to carry. And that does not include your expenses. People, when we look at our debt, and they say, well, I'm paying my bills. Your bills, I'm going to try to write larger today. are an expense. That's something we talked about, having fixed expenses and non-fixed expenses. Our bills are an expense. They are a liability to us. Yesterday we started out with finding out what our net worth. Did anybody do their homework? Anybody found out their net worth last night? Y'all went home and went to bed. You were supposed to go and find out what you're worth. I want you to do that because I want you to see your starting point. And it's important to know where you are starting from. If you are in a race, and I used to run track, and so when we had to do our relay races, we were staggered. And we were staggered for a purpose and a reason. The reason they stagger us is because they usually put the fastest person in the back. The slower people will go first, and they will start to set the pace. And then they hand off the baton to the second person, and then the second to the third person, and then the finisher, as they call it. Now, I was the finisher. I was the one that grabbed that baton, and I went for it. And I went straight on over the finish line. And the reason they do that, because that person that are going ahead, they're setting the pace, and the other person is going to take the pace to the next level. And then the third person will take it to the next level. And then the finisher steps in, and that girl or that guy takes it over the finish line. And if that person is a powerful runner, that person is going to cause us to win. But it took the whole team on the relay team for it to go forward and for them to win, even though that one person took them over the finish line. Well, getting rid of that debt is the exact same way. Now, so I thought about it, since there was a relay race going on here. Let's take a look then. This is not in your binder, so I'll share it with you. 8 in 10 Americans have some form of consumer debt. Consumer debt is that debt that's consumer debt or credit cards. Credit cards, loans. All of those are considered consumer debt. You go to Lowe's, you get a credit card, you bought a house and you're buying things. You're now starting to rack up consumer debt. You go to the bank, you get a loan for a car, consumer debt. That's the debt that struggles us. The average debt balance is by age group. I'll start with Gen Z. Gen Z, ages 18 to 23. Their average debt is $9,593. I'm like, what are they spending it on? Apple Music? What are you buying? Jeans? You know, I mean, when I look at some of my grandkids' clothes and T-shirt, $89 for True Religion. I'm like, I think I can do a little better than that. I can buy a T-shirt and I can put TR on it myself. And nobody know but me. Just don't let them find out I did it. I'm not encouraging you to do that. But what I'm saying is, why am I going to walk around with somebody else's label on me? We spend all this money. I have on par for the course, right? I have on Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. And Gloria Vanderbilt jeans are they're expensive jeans. And the reason they're expensive is because who she is. Even though I'm walking around with her label on the back of me, I didn't pay that exorbitant price because I went to Amazon and I found her jeans so discounted that I couldn't help but buy. I think I bought 6, 7 pair. Then I got capris, getting ready for the summer. And I did that because I'm like, if I'm going to wear somebody's name, it's sure going to be discounted. Number one, I'm going to look for the value, and it does not devalue her. Because her estate is large. She just passed away a few months ago. So, and if you don't know, Anderson Cooper is her son. So her estate is large. And me buying these jeans at a discount still added to her estate, and she's no longer in the earth. That's legacy. Money that goes beyond you. Wealth that extends you, extends your lifetime. That's what we want. We want our legacy to be, and I tell my kids, if I don't leave you anything, I'm leaving you my faith. And with faith, you can get anything. But you have to use your faith, just like you have to use what you received last night. Take these binders home with you and go through them. Use them as your financial assistant. I have financial clients, and I do financial coaching. And so what I do is, some of them are out of town, they're out of state, and so I meet them on Google Meet. And so we have our meetings. And we go over their debt snowball, if they're still getting out of debt, or if they're maintaining, or if they're considering, well, I think I'm ready now to invest some money, or what am I going to do? And we go over those things. And or we're getting them to the place where they're prepared, where they are ready. They're little things. You know, you can invest with as little as $5 and make money. Robinhood. There are apps that you can use that are legal apps. I personally will not put my money, I know a lot of people put their money in Bitcoin. I am personally not putting my money in Bitcoins. Just not doing it. It's like, to me, it is imaginary money because it's digital money. And one of the NFL players, I'm not going to mention his name, you probably already know, he wanted to be paid in Bitcoins. So he got paid his salary in Bitcoins, and it was a whole lot of money. But guess what? When they arrested that young man, Bitcoins fell. They were worthless. Guess what happened to his salary? Oh, way down. Then he wanted them to pay him in money. You can't go backwards. Once he got paid in Bitcoin, that's it and that's all. So I'm sure he learned a valuable lesson. You don't put all of your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify. You've got to have some eggs in this basket over here in that container. You want to put some eggs over there in that container. Or you're going to end up like these people we're talking about. Millennials, they are 24 to 39 years old. Their debt average is $78,396. We're just talking about a difference of 1 year between Gen Z and millennials, and their debt has more than quadrupled. That means they are outspending their income, because the majority of them definitely are not making $78,000 a year. Even with their college degrees, they are not making that type of money, but they are living way over their head. My mom used to say, you know, don't you go out here and live high on the hog. I didn't know what a hog, all you're going to get is bacon. And she said, no, living high on the hog means you're spending more than you bringing home. So we do not want to live high on the hog or on any other animal. And we want to live within our means, but never beneath our privilege. And as Christians, we have the right to do that. But we have to do things as the word teaches us, as good stewards. We've got to steward over. And that word steward is a funny word, because most of us, when we think of stewards, we think of being on an airplane, and they have stewards. I look at the word steward, and I scratch that STR, and I put an R, and I get rewards. Hallelujah. So when I get rewards, that means I have to do something to be rewarded. Steward means that we are managers. We are managers, but it doesn't belong to us. When you're managing something, that means you're managing another person's property. So the finances we receive come from God. And because it comes from God, we are to steward it well. We are to know. Proverbs tells us that you are to know the state of your herds and the conditions of your flocks. You're supposed to know what in today's terminology, I could break that down like this. You should know where your money is, how much money you have. Do you all know how much money you have right now? If I came up to you and I said, how much money do you have? Total. Would you know? I know you know. She's one of my clients. I know she knows every penny. If you don't know, how will you know? When it's time to go and get a loan, if you have to get a loan, or if you have to do something on in a financial element, how will you know to sit down in front of somebody and you go in there and they say, well, what is your income? Well, I think. People don't want to hear what you think or off the top of your head. When you go to conduct business, you better come with the business. You better know exactly what you have, where you have it, how you access it, when you'll be able to access it. Even something as simple as purchasing a car. They will give you a couple days, my down payment is going to be $10,000, but I can't get it to you till next month. And they're going to say, okay, we'll see you then. They're not going to wait on you. So when it's time to conduct business, we've got to have our business in order. We got to have all of our ducks in a row. And I look at these people, I'm like, man, how do you go from over a little under $10,000 to over $78,000? We're not finished yet. Gen X is ages 40 to 55. Their debt is $135,841 average. Whew. So they've almost doubled the debt of the generation before them. Baby boomers, that be us. The average baby boomer debt is $96,984. Now, they learned a little something because they're a little beneath Gen X. But they still have a great amount of debt. Now, this debt does not include mortgage debt. It does not include their house. It is just everyday consumer type debts. That's a whole lot of weight on your back. The silent generation, they are 75 years old and over. Their average debt in their golden years is $40,925. That's a lot of debt. And the majority of them are living off of pensions and Social Security. For the most part, they are not receiving enough money to carry that debt. And that's sad because you finally are able to retire. You're getting your pension if you have a job that has a pension. Today, many jobs don't even offer that anymore. You used to get a gold watch, a thank you, and a pension package, and they sent you on your way. There's no such thing as company loyalty any longer. Companies will get rid of you in a blink, and they will hire somebody 20 years younger than you, and they will pay them $50,000 less than you, and you're out to pasture saying, now what do I do? And if you're like this, on average, over $40,000 hanging over your head in debt, how do I pay it off? I'm here to tell you, you can pay debt off with Social Security. I receive a pension and Social Security, and I am debt-free. I paid all my debt off, including house. My husband and I were able to do that, and we're able to do that in 8 years. I'm going to tell you later when we look at houses how I was able to do that. It is no tricks. It's a strategy. And it works. It works if you work it. I get so excited about that because I know this stuff works. Now, 57% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. Ask yourself the question, where are you? Do you have extra money at the end of the month, or do you have more month than you have money? If you have more month than you have money, it's time to get your financial house in order. Plain and simple. We cannot out-debt ourselves. And let me tell you now, getting loans does not get you out of debt. You cannot have debt and go get more debt and think you're going to be out of debt. It doesn't work like that. 0 plus 0 equals 0. It will never change. So, we've got to get ourselves to a place where we get out of debt. Last night, we started looking at the debt snowball. And we talked about, in the beginning, we created a budget. I showed you how to find money in your spending. I know you all haven't had the opportunity yet. So I hope this week you will go to everydollar.com. Dave Ramsey, send me 10%. I push that app. I love that app. And I hope you all will utilize it because it will really help you to see exactly where your money is going, who you have to pay, when you have to pay them. You can put all that information, and I call it mindlessness. I just have to click it, and boom, there it is. I don't have to think. I can actually pull it up. I can actually look at the app, and I pull it up. I don't have to worry about anything. I know what my income is. I know what to expect. But then there are times that you have extra money that comes in. So then you put it on your app and you just add it to it. And so when I go to the grocery store, I go down my list and I see here, okay, I'm going in the store and I have food, groceries, and / eating out in my budget. And so if my husband and I go out and eat or I go and pick something out, I immediately take that and I put it in this app and it will calculate and it'll let me know you got $212 remaining for the month of May to spend. I'm not going to spend past that $212 because I've already spent $135. And that includes groceries and eating out. The worst thing you can do is go to the grocery store every day. And I was getting in the habit, just weekly or every couple of days. It's one thing if you're baking a cake and you run out of vanilla and you run to the store and pick up a bottle. But if you're going to the store and picking up groceries to make a meal every day, we've got to change that. We've got to learn to make, I'm a cuss, y'all. She cussing Saturday morning. Didn't she say she cussed yesterday? In church, lists. We have got to learn to make a list because 90% of the time, if you make a list, you will stick to it. We don't often veer off when we have something tangible in our hand. When you go to the grocery store, number 2, do not go hungry. Never. Because you're not only going to eat grapes you didn't pay for, you're going to sample some stuff, but you're also going to start picking up things you don't need. All of a sudden, oh, them cookies look good. Oh, we haven't had cupcakes. You start picking up stuff because your stomach is telling you to buy now. You're not using your head and you're sure not paying attention to the list because your stomach is talking to you. And then you'll get home and you're going to put away groceries and you're like, whew. I didn't go to get all this stuff. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to Walmart and I'm up here teaching this. And I catch myself and I'll say, what did I buy? And I look at this stuff and I'm like, nah, you know better than that. Got stuff in there I shouldn't even be eating. But my stomach dictated the grocery list that day. I don't often do that. And I've tried very hard, and I seldom will have to go to the grocery store 3 or 4 times a week because I buy my groceries, I put them up in the pantry, and especially staples. Keep staples in the house. Keep potatoes in the house. And make sure they don't have the eyes on them. Keep them in a cool spot so they can last a while. I don't know what it is about potatoes today. I've never seen potatoes get eyes, as they call them, the little things that they're ready to be replanted and put in the ground. I've never seen potatoes go bad as quickly as they do today. I'm like, have the formula changed? Don't they just put the little plant in the earth and they come up with potatoes and you dig the dirt and you pull them off. What's going on here? Stuff just doesn't do it. They are not allowing a lot of preservatives put on these vegetables and fruits anymore, so they don't seem to last as long. But you can buy fruit and vegetable keepers, so you can put them in there. They have little holes and they got little stands on the bottom, so they're not touching the rack in your refrigerator, and they keep them a lot longer. Put them in the fresh keepers in the bottom of the refrigerators. People, they just put everything down there. You're misusing it. That's not its purpose. A crisper is for your vegetables. And that's because it's a crisper, because it allows air to flow through there so your vegetables will last longer. The other side is for fruits, not meat. I'm like, why people got meat down there? Meat don't belong there. Meat has to be up higher at a cooler temperature where it can be kept better. You have a drawer in your refrigerator, most people do. That's where you want to put things like cheese and meat, such as you go into the deli and you get deli meat, you put it in that drawer, and it helps to keep it longer. So one way we can stay the course is we all need an accountability person. We all need follow-up. Now, husbands and wives, if you cannot be accountable to one another financially, there's something more going on than that. You can't talk to each other. There's a communication disconnect there. Get some help. Talk to someone. Get counsel. Seek out counsel so that you can not just be on one accord for financial things. If you sit down and you argue more than you all are coming to agreement, that's beyond needing financial help. That means we have some issues in the marriage that we have to resolve, and then we can come together and be accountable to each other. There is something that is, I call it financial adultery. That's a husband or a wife who's buying and the spouse doesn't know about it. It happens a lot too. More than we realize, it happens. There are people, and I've dealt with people, and he'll say, every time I look, she's coming in the house with bags. Well, you buy golf stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter which one is doing it. What matters is you both have to be on one accord. If you sit down together and you create your budget together, the other person can't argue about it. That's because they know what's going on and you know what's going on. And that's how you want to keep it. You don't want your husband in the dark. Now, if you're single, you don't have that to worry about. You consult you, but you need an accountability partner as well. You know, find somebody that you can trust, because number one, you have to be very vulnerable. When I sit down with people to go over their finances, I tell them two things. Number one, I expect total honesty from you concerning your finances, because if you don't tell me the truth, I can't help you. I'm not going to sit here and participate in a lie with you, because number one, time is valuable, and I'm giving time to you that I do not get back. Whether money is exchanging hands for a service or not does not matter. What matters most is that you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to be honest, so we can get to the bottom of this and we can move forward. And we can only do that if you're honest. Because I'm coming there with clean hands. I'm coming to help. And so if you desire that help, and I'm not the only person in the world that does this, you can go to crownfinancial.org, and they have financial counselors. Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey's program, they also have financial counselors. A lot of my teaching came from them, and that's why I'm able to do this. But not only the teachings, but you've got to apply those teachings. And you have to listen to your accountability partner. If they talk to you, you can't get upset if they look at your budget and say, well, wait a minute, hold on. This is what we came up with. Why don't you have enough money to pay this, this, and this? Why are you short? Well, what I kind of bought this dress, and this, how much was the dress? $300. Well, $300 wasn't in your budget. How are you buying a $300 dress? Like we saw the budget last night. You're $901.16 negative. Why are you going out in excess of that? Now you're taking your negativity onto $1,200 that month and beyond, because you're not going to catch up. You're already behind the 8 ball, as they say. If you're already behind, the answer is, I cannot continue to spend my way out of debt. It just is not mathematically possible. You know, it's like digging a hole. I'm digging this hole, and I'm going to get out the hole. How are you going to get out the hole if you dig in the hole? Because the more you dig dirt and you remove the dirt, the deeper in the hole you're going to sink. Debt is the same way. The more debt you continue to purchase, the more debt you'll continue to sink yourself with. Now, here it says with a financial partner, someone you're accountable with, you are more apt to reach your financial goals than trying to do it on your own. Now, some people can do it on their own. I did it on my own. I say that, but I had help. See, the Bible taught me. The classes taught me. The seminars taught me. And there were times I would sit up on Zoom, and I paid for the Zoom, and I'd sit up and go sleep. I'm like, it's going in one ear and coming out the other, and I'm like, I'm never going to get this stuff. But it stuck. I was amazed. I might have fell asleep after the first hour or so. The other day I was online with Dave Ramsey's program. Hour and 45 minutes in. And the guy goes, well, you know, we're not going to be on here all day. But they kept going. And I was like, I'm about ready to hang up on these folks. And one thing I like about his organization is the very next day, it was follow-up. On my phone right now, that guy has called me 4 times already to follow up with me. There were 2,000 of us on the Zoom. Talk about glorious. 2,000 people that are training that want to be financial counselors. That means there are going to be a whole lot of people they're able to help. So that lets us know there are people that really want to get out of debt, and there are people that want to help you get out of debt. This is really one of my greatest passions. I told you all that last night, and I'll repeat it again today. One of my greatest passions is to see you debt-free. I know what it feels like to not to have to pay anybody. Imagine for a minute, all of you that are watching, whether you're online or you're sitting here this morning, take a second and imagine no debt. The only time you can remember that is when you were a child, because you didn't have any debt then. But can you imagine getting your paycheck and it's still in the bank? You don't have to pay anything except for expenses if you're an adult and you live outside of your parents' household, or if you're an adult living in your parents' household, you should be contributing. We used to call them people Freddie the freeloader. Don't make that your name. Always, always pitch in and help. Always, in a sense, it's like paying it forward. They've allowed you to stay there, help them, because bills go up when people move in. Your expenses raise up. And so that means it's more of a burden on the people you're moving in with. Roommates, you go through the same thing. Roommates break up more than marriages. Because after a while, they're arguing, well, the water bill is $200. And well, I agreed $50 when I moved in. Well, the expenses have gone up. And most of them, instead of stepping up to the plate, what do? They take a hike. They leave. And you're still stuck with the raising costs and expenses for that household. And it's on you. And it's not fair, it's life. It happens. We've got to plan for those type of things to happen to us. You can't always expect everybody to be at the same place and level where you are. And so getting back to our debt, I'm going to go over the debt snowball since I had some texts and phone calls about that debt snowball. And they were like, I'm not getting it. I can't get it. It's in your binder. The debt snowball, these are the steps, the 4 steps. List your debts from smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate. We do not pay attention to the interest rate at all. Make minimum payments on all your debts except the smallest, the first one. Pay as much as possible on your smallest debt. Repeat until each debt is paid in full. I created an example at the bottom of your explanation. This person, we went through the budget and she said, I have $50 to put towards getting out of debt. When you sit down with whether it's me or any other financial accountability partner or a life financial coach, what they're going to do is they're going to go over your budget. If you don't have a budget, they will help you create a budget. At that time, if you are ready to start reducing your debt, some people are and some people are not. It may take some people a while to get to the place where they want to reduce debt. Some point, they're just trying to play catch up and deal with the debt that they have that's current and due. This person is at a point that she has $50. $50 don't seem like a lot of money when you got a lot of debt. She has, four debts here. She doesn't have a whole lot of debt if we take the calculator and we add it up. But I say she because I'm just used to saying she. It could be a he. It could be anybody, right? It could be you. It could be any of us with debt like this hanging over their head. She has a total of $20,000 in debt. That's a big bite. She has $50. I'm sorry. Paper. Ooh, I said 50. She has $50 that she can spare right now every month to reduce her debt. So I created with her a debt snowball. This is actually somebody's. Okay, this is what we did. Her 4 debts are medical bills, credit cards, car loan, and she has a student loan. She's had this student loan for over 10 years. She graduated over 10 years ago, and she's still carrying student debt, loans. There are people that will go to the grave and not be paid off their student loans. Told you last night, a young lady has $180,000. The good thing is she has a really, really good salary, and she should be able to pay. I told her within 6 to 8 years, if she stays the course, she'll be able to have all of that paid off. She'll be able to purchase her first house, and she's going to be all right. Only if she stays the course. Now, if she fall off the wagon, there's nothing I can do, and she will not meet her goal. But she is revved up, and she's ready. She's been paying off a lot of her debts. She's excited, and that's what the debt snowball does. It gets you excited in paying off your debt. So she, with the first bill, is $500. Can you all see that? Okay. Second bill was $2,500. Third bill, $7,000. Fourth bill was $10,000. Okay, this is how the debt snowball works. The minimum payment on the medical bills is $50. Minimum payment. This is her smallest debt, the $500. The credit card debt payment is $63 a month. That's the minimum she can pay. The car loan, her car payment is $135 a month. Her student loan is at $96 a month. Right now, a lot of student loans are being deferred because of the pandemic. Again, President Biden announced on May the 11th the pandemic is now over. Since the pandemic is over, I believe they say it's either going to be July or August, you will start getting the bill to pay your student loans again, which means that money that you've been blowing has got to be put back in the budget to start paying that student loan debt off, so you don't have it tagging around you like a puppy that's lost. Student loans are not your friends. People keep their student, well, I'll put it in deferment, I'll go take a class. And they keep keeping it around. But what they don't seem to understand is it is ticking up, and ticking up. It's just like, in the IRS. You don't have to pay them, but trust, they're going to get their money. IRS, you cannot bankrupt off. You cannot get rid of IRS debt by one way, paying it. You have to pay that debt to the government. And so you've got to get to the place where that money, find that money, put it back in the budget because you know it's coming. If you were smart, while you were in deferment, you were still putting that payment away, because what you can do is take that lump sum, and now when you start paying it, put it on it. It will take your principal down greatly, and it will also take down the interest, so you will actually end up paying less back to the federal government. Also, they put in for debt forgiveness. And when you put in for debt forgiveness, and if you were accepted, they forgave, if it was a certain loans, you could get up to $20,000, either $10,000 or $20,000 off of your loan. Some people received it, and others did not qualify to get it. So many Americans are upset over the people that qualified, because they're like, well, I paid my debt. Why they don't have to pay their debt? Sometimes we just have to be understanding and generous towards other people. Maybe they have reasons. Maybe they cannot afford to pay. Maybe they're out and they're on a lower income level and they weren't able. A lot of people had to get student loans because they just didn't have the money to pay to go to college. But it's their college degree that helps them to make the money they make so that they can pay what they borrowed. It's not that they're trying to skip out on the government. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I used to tell bill collectors, I know for a fact my mother used to say to me, you can't get blood out of a turnip. And I was like, what? What did I just say there for? I know you can't get blood out of a turnip. They don't believe. But that's to say, you can't get something that doesn't have it. You can't get a substance called money out of me if I have no money to give you. Calling me is not going to make me give you money. I don't have it. And that's what we get confused with. And sometimes I think the bill collectors are confused. And I told you last night about charge-offs. Some companies have to charge off that money. But there are debt collector companies, and their job is to buy that debt. And they become the one that pick at you and call you and be mean and nasty on the phone, because they get paid a percentage of what they get back. So you may be forgiven over here on the left, but then over here on the right, they go over to the left and they said, oh, they owe $10,000. I'll buy it from you for $8,000. They call you for the $10,000, but you learn to negotiate with them and you get it down to $4,000. And for the most part, they'll take it, because if he's getting a 50% cut, $2,000 is better than $0. So they will take it. And you're further ahead because you've gotten that debt off your back. He's not going to call you anymore. And you banked $6,000 difference that you saved in negotiating that with that debt collector. And you can do that. Let's get back to this lady here on this debt snowball. These are her minimum payments. With the debt snowball, we're going to take the $50 that she has set aside every month to help reduce her debt. So now the payment on the first bill will be $50, the minimum payment, plus $50, which is the amount she says she can put towards it. And the new payment now becomes $100. Do you all see how I got that? This is how the debt snowball works. In 5 months, she'll be done paying off that $500. It might take a little more than 5 months because there's interest on that as well. So understand, when you pay your minimum payment, if your payment is $50 and you have a 14.99, you are not paying $50. This, let me get up on my calculator. Went to sleep on me again. $19 of that $50 comes out. So you're looking at it like, oh, great, I got $50. I'm going to owe $450. No, ma'am, no, sir. $19 is interest. $31 is P, principal. So they're going to deduct their $19 because you owe that organization for carrying that money on their credit card, Citi, Capital One, all of them. Then you're going to take that and you'll be like, okay, now what do I do? Then your $50 goes there. You're going to take out of that $500, they're going to apply that to the principal. So now you owe what? $469 is what her new amount would have been if she only paid the minimum. So she added $50. So now instead of having $31, she's going to have what? $81. Doesn't that start to look a little better? A whole lot better. And so her new total will be $419 instead of $486. So when she gets her bill the next cycle, which would be June, her new balance won't be $500, it'll be $416 because her $50 in principal, the $50, I'll come over here and do it, the $50 plus the $31, which is the difference of her minimum payment minus interest of $19 is what we calculated. It's now $81 payment. This is how the debt snowball starts to roll your debt down the hill quicker and quicker every time. So you're taking the $81 and now you are down already the first month of getting out of debt, you are down $416. You still have these other 3 bills. So what do? They only get their minimum payment. It's going to take you longer, of course, to pay them off. That's fine. Slow and steady. The tortoise beat the hare every time. Read the book. And he's always going to do it because he's slow, but he's steady. He's constant. He's consistent. She's paying and she's paying. She's got that $50 is working for her. Instead of $496, she owes $416. And it'll continue to go like that. The Bible says steady plotting bring prosperity. That means constant, being constant about it, being constant about it. So if I'm steady plotting, I'm steady doing it, I'm steady putting the $50 every month, I'm adding the $50. In a little over 5 months, let's say 5.5 months, somebody might bless her and say, here, I just want to give you a little something. The Lord put you on my heart. She takes that money. She doesn't go to the store with it. She takes it and she puts it on that first debt. Maybe she's done in 4 months. So in 4 months, she's got eradicated that $500 debt, which is now, because of interest and the principal being paid down, it's now at $416. She's done. When this first debt is done, you start to concentrate on your second debt. Her second debt is the $2,500. Her minimum payment is $63. So what am I going to do? Am I going to twiddle my thumbs? Well, of course not. The new payment, because that $100 is now free, but it has a mission. It doesn't get to go to the store and buy clothes. It doesn't get to buy hair, nails, pedicures. No. Remember the cuss word? Sacrifice. I was supposed to put that up first thing. I always keep sacrifice. Up here for a reason. You are always going to have to sacrifice when you're getting out of debt. Always going to be a sacrifice. David said, I will render unto the Lord nothing that costs me nothing. He's not going to give God something that doesn't cost him. It's the same way when you're trying to get out of debt. It's going to cost you a sacrifice. You've got to be willing to make that sacrifice. Who wouldn't want to make the sacrifice to be free? I can't imagine why people want, there are people that I don't care about my debt. Okay, you're going to always have it. I love my husband, but one time he told me, and he don't mind me sharing it, he said, you're going to always have a car payment. Not so. Now, back then, it was probably, and I know it was true then, because I changed cars like I changed clothes. I was buying a new car every year. Dumbest mistake I could have ever done. New cars depreciate too quickly to keep buying a new car every year. I don't care how much money you make. And we all use that same excuse. I can afford it. Now, don't let I can afford it trick you, especially when it comes to big purchases like houses. You say, I can afford the mortgage today. Will you be able to afford it 5 years from now? If you move into a community that has HOA fees, they raise every year. Majority of some HOAs, people have HOAs and they don't know what they do. What do they do with their money? Oh, they cut your grass in the common areas, not your house. If you have pool amenities in your neighborhood. Some people are paying exorbitant HOAs and they don't have amenities. It'd be cheaper to just y'all pool together and get somebody to cut the grass than have HOA fees. Another reason I personally dislike HOAs, and I dislike them because I'm paying all this money, nobody gonna tell me how to live in my house. HOAs tell you how you must live or they get rid of you. They sue you. I had a coworker, they sued her over how she bought a wagon to carry her 2 trash totes. That was not allowed. They took her to court and they were fining her $100 a day until she get rid of it. She decided, well, I'm not getting rid of it because I like it. It helps me to take it down to the curb for them to pick it up. $9,000 later. And the HOA kept suing her. She eventually sold her condo and moved. That's kind of silly to me, but some people love living in communities with HOAs because certain people are not going to be there. It keeps a certain quality, if I can use that word, or type of people in that community. You're not going to have people parking up on the curb. You are not going to have people with their cars up on cinder blocks working on them day and night. You would not have that with an HOA because they will evict them. And it's amazing to me, they can sue you and they can take your house and there's nothing you can do about it. You can contest it, but you're going to lose because you signed a contract when you bought that house in that community, and you must keep your word. And all the judge has is your signature, and he has to abide by what you agreed to. So be careful when you're purchasing your home, where you're purchasing your house at. When we get to that point later, I'll show you. You want to also ride by. Before we built that house, we rode through there in the day, rode through there in the afternoon, rode through there at night. A lot of stuff don't happen in daytime. It don't happen till nightfall. And so if you ride through there at different times, you will start to get a taste of that community, some knowledge. You always wanted to be gathering knowledge. We have brains. These are like computers we have up here. And they can compartmentalize a lot of stuff. They can calculate at the speed of light if we allow it to. Do you know we don't even lose 10% of our brain? That's amazing. Your brain weighs 5 pounds. And we're only using 10% of it for just everyday living. That boggles my mind when I found that fact out. In psychology, they teach you, you start to learn about reasoning, how your mind starts to work. And last night I was thinking about reasoning when it came to the debt snowball. It makes no sense when you look at it, but when you start to bring logic and reasoning in, that $50 plus $50 equaling $100, paying it all, start to make sense. Then it starts to make even greater sense to me because the $100 now comes down to the $63. So now she goes from paying simply $63 a month to she's paying $100. So the 50 leaves that, and it comes down as 100. So she'll have 163 plus her 100 now. She now has $163 a month. Remember, she started out only with $50 to contribute. That's doubled and added $13. This is how the debt snowball works. You all see it? Once she's paid that off, she would then come down and add that 163 to, what is that, 238? Look, now my brain not trying to calculate this one. I think it's 238. I think I got it right. And she's paying 135. Woo, she's got a big chunk. Look at that. She now has $298 a month. She went from $50 to $298 in less than a year, less than 6 months. And once that $2,500 is paid off, she drops down, added to the 135. Her new payment is now $298. Once that $7,000 car loan is paid off, and it's going to be paid off pretty quick, depending on what the interest rate is, she should still have a good amount of principal going to her principal and less in interest, because this also helps you bring your interest down, which means what you repay, you're going to repay a whole lot less. When I take out a loan, they barely make any money off of me. I'm going to tell you that later. Why? Barely get any interest off me. That's why some people are turning you down even if you have excellent credit, because they'll look at your history and be like, she don't keep her loans long. So we know it's going to be a minimal amount. Most banks are going to accept you because they're in the business of making money, whether it's large amounts or small amounts. If you have excellent credit, they will accept you. So her $298 plus her student loan is $96. She now has $394. That's going to really help to eradicate that. The majority of them are 6%. If you have good credit, they can go upward of 14 and 19%. And if you do it outside of federal loan companies, they can cost you more. I guess well, you don't know who she is or who he is, so I can say it. I know someone that has a student loan, 28%. They owe $100,000. It will take over 30 years to pay that off. 30 years. You pay for a house with a 30-year mortgage. He's paying for his education, a house. See, when you change your mindset, you will start to be able to look at these things differently. I call it association. You learn association. That's another term you'll learn in taking the psychology class. And so what you do is you start to look at things a little different. Instead of $50, I see debt reduction. I don't just see $50. Because in my crazy imagination, I saw that $50 become $394. And it's not magic, it's math. People think it's magical. Getting out of debt is not magical, it's work and it's math. Always, always, always do the math. Always do the math. Never make a decision if it's financial without first doing your math. If you have a problem with math, there are calculators online. You can go to your credit union. I know Navy Fed has resources under the resource tab, and they have all types of calculators. How to calculate what that car payment will be before you buy it. What your house note will be before you buy it. You go and you use those calculators. You can also make decisions like, do I need a student loan? Do I need to carry that kind of debt? Could I do a work study? Look for different options. They do work study where they're getting paid, and part of that money is coming to them, and the other part is going toward their tuition. When I was in school, I did work study. I worked in the office of the college when I wasn't in class. So I would go down there and, you type up letters, you do whatever they need. You made copies. And at the time, minimum wage wasn't even $5. So you weren't making a lot of money, but it was getting you through school. So you had a purpose for doing it. And all of this I'm saying, little becomes much if you keep being consistent. And with the debt snowball, you have to stay consistent. Those of you that messenger me or sent me a text, I hope you have a better understanding. I tried to go slow and take my time at it. And you'll see. You have to have an amount to start with. It doesn't matter how small the amount is. If you only pay, just think, if you pay $5 a month, let's just take that small amount, and your bill is $50, your minimum payment is $50, and is $19 going to come off of that? $50, and it'll leave you with the $19? No, I'm sorry, it leaves you with the $31. You take your $31 and you say, okay, I'm not going to spend it. I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to add that because that's all I have. You will pay that $36 on there. And so then instead of $500, it may not seem like a lot, but your bill comes down to $464 versus $416. But that's okay, because the next month, when they do the calculation of your interest, it's not going to be against $500. It will now be against $464. So you are going to save on the interest. That's another benefactor of doing the debt snowball. Her loan is going to get paid off in 5.5, 6 months, but she's going to pay less interest than she would have paid if she continued at the minimum payment. It would taken her another probably 4 years average to pay off that $500 at just that $50 a month. Because remember, $19, depending on, this is like a 12% interest. Yeah, around 12%, 11.99, 12.2, somewhere in there on that $500. Just think, if you have poor credit or bad credit and you started out with an interest rate like down here, that 28%, you wouldn't even have $12 going against your $500 principal, because most of it is going to be eaten up in interest. And interest is another reason you want to pay your bills off quickly. Don't keep paying them. Have that money left. And now, when she's done all of this, she has a surplus of $394 to add to her budget. Woohoo! She ready to go spend now, because she's debt-free. All of this is taken care of. And she'll be able to get rid of all $20,000 if she continues on her debt snowball. She will have this eradicated in under 3 years. Where if she had just continually struggling and paying and not sacrificing and paying the minimum payment on each one of these, it could take her over 25 years to pay that all back, plus the interest. And the interest is going to be astronomical because they're going to keep going up. Suppose you miss a month. That means the interest has increased more, and so has your principal original balance. So if every time we miss, we're penalized, and it goes up higher and higher. We do not want to do that, ever, if we can help it. They used to say by crook or snook or crook, pay your bills. Don't steal to pay your bills, but pay your bills. Do what you have to do. Sometimes sacrifice means I'm going to sacrifice my weekend and get a little weekend job. You know? McDonald's is not beneath you as an adult. I see seniors working in McDonald's to supplement their Social Security. I talked to an older lady there. She's in her 80s. She was barely walking around, and she was cleaning down the drink counter. And I said, Mother, do you mind me asking you how old you are? And she said 82. I said, Mother, why are you still working? And she said, supplement my Social Security. It broke my heart that she's 82 years old and working to supplement her income. The reason she supplemented her income is she wasn't a high wage earner. Everybody is not going to make $150,000 a year. You may be a lower wage earner, but even as a lower wage earner, you can get out of debt. Remember, this young lady started with $50. Suppose she had $1,000 a month extra that she could throw towards that. And also, when you're getting out of debt, remember, you save your first $1,000, that's your emergency fund. Let me say it again, let me spell it, A-N-Y, any money that you have extra, it goes on debt. You don't get to hold on to it. Oh, well, like I said last night, I got $10,000 sitting in the bank. No, you have $10,000 to throw on your debt if you are serious about getting out of debt. And actually, you have $9,000 because you take that $1,000 and set it in a money market account and let it sit there until you have need of it. And let me explain emergency. Emergency isn't you tore the side of your shoe so you need some new shoes. That's not an emergency. Neither is it a catastrophe. An emergency is your plumbing, you go in the bathroom, you flush, and water is going all over the place, and it's going down to the second level of the house. That is an emergency. You call the plumber. You pull the money out of that account, of your emergency account. You pay the plumber. He's fixed it. He's gone. The next day, you start with putting your debt on hold. The only time you put your debt on hold is if there's an emergency or if there's a life event change. God forbid, one of the breadwinner of the house passes, they die. You put all this on hold until you take care of everything else that has to be dealt with at that time. These are the only reason if we have a life event, you're preparing for a child. You know in 9 months you're going to have a baby. So you want to start doing something. One of the things you can do is continue, but I tell people no, you stop the debt snowball. You pay your minimum on your bills, and then you put away, because baby's going to cost you money. Formula costs a lot of money. And if you don't have any type of assistance, you're going to have to come out of pocket with that. And what you don't want to get in the habit of doing is using your credit card, starting that back up when you know you've already started trying your best to get out of debt. So those are the only times. Life events, a life change, if you have an emergency and you have to replenish your emergency fund, you stop doing your debt snowball and you start throwing that money back into the emergency fund account until you get it back to $1,000. Those are the only time you stop your debt snowball once you get the debt snowball going. You all get it? Got it. All right. So that $394, now if she doesn't have need of that, she puts that money in a money market account and let that money grow. That means she puts that money to work for her. While she's sleeping, it's working. It is growing. It's getting interest. And one day she's going to look at it and that $394 will be $4,000. And it'll continue to go and grow. And you're doing it you don't even have to think about it. What she needs to do is put that on auto pay, ACH. Let it automatically come out and go to the clearinghouse, and they will send it for you. You would not have to go online and move that $394. It's going to be moved for her. She won't even think about it anymore. So it'll be like she doesn't have it because she doesn't have it. And if you don't know about it, you won't spend it. You can't spend what you aren't receiving. But if you get it in your paycheck, are you really, really, really going to say, ooh, I got $395, woohoo, I'm going to go ahead and put that? No. You're going to go buy yourself a Coach bag. $298, $398. You know why? Because self-gratification say, I need something because I've been good. We've got to get rid of that mentality. I bought a car because I deserve it. You don't deserve no car. You bought a car because you wanted it. Stop using these excuses to get yourself in debt. We talk our own self into debt. Car salesmen, they are trained to get you to buy a car. Their goal is not let you to leave that lot until you purchase the car. One of the greatest tools they have, because we're going to look at that shortly here, is their mouth. They wear you down. When I go to a dealership, I tell them, you got 30 minutes. And that's from start to finish. If I like the car, I take it out, I bring it back. Yes, what next? How much is the car? Well, what do you want your payment to be? None of your business. How much is the car? It's not about my payment, because they will make it where you can, quote unquote, afford it, but you're going to pay for it for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years. The devil is a lie. You never tell them what you want your car payment to be, ever. You don't tell them where you work, because they start to size you up. Oh, she work on base? Oh, well, what are you? Oh, you're an engineer? Oh, so they already know they're not going to take you over there to the $30,000 car. You going over there with the $68,000 and $70,000 cars, because they know you can afford it. But they don't know you got this kind of debt sitting on you. They don't know that. You do, but you take your cute self right on over there with that lot with him, and you test drive it, and it feels good. Let it feel real good. Ooh, them cushy seats, you feel all wonderful, you bring it back. How did you enjoy your ride? Oh, I liked it. I loved it. Never, ever, ever tell them you love that car, because they know you already attached, and boom, they got you. And you're not going to leave without that car, and they know it, and they're going to make sure you know it too. Do you want something to drink? Oh, no, thank you. You know why they ask? They keep drinks there and refreshments? They know you're going to be there a while. I don't have time for games. Give me the bottom line price. Give me your cash price. If I pull cash out my purse right now, what would that car cost me? If you pay cash for a car, sometimes you're going to pay a lower price than you would if you you're definitely going to pay a lower price than if you finance that car. And that's because they get a portion of that as well. A portion of that money comes to them because it's another upsell for them. So as they're doing that upsell, they're able to take that money, and the dealership gets that money and they get to keep it. And you get to pay it. So you the went, you the test drove, you the fell in love, you're happy, and they got you. And you're stuck like Chuck. You know, and you should have just went on home. I tell people after you test drove, get in your car, go home, and tell your car how much you love it, especially if there's no debt on that car. You want to keep it. So that is our debt snowball. That is our tool, and one of the greatest and quickest tools and ways to get out of debt. When you do that, again, you will be like our little sister here. She has now a surplus of $394 in her budget. Where are we going to go right now? Let's look at, how many of you heard of credit repair companies? You all see them? They come out and you see them on TV. They want to show you how to get out of debt. And they don't want to show you what they actually going to do is charge you. I recently had a person call me, and I was going to work with them, but in talking to them, I found out one thing. They're not really ready to get out of debt. They're ready to play. And my time is valuable. I don't have time to play with you. If you want to play, go to the playground. Don't call me. Go play in the sandbox somewhere. I knew they weren't ready because every time I told them something, they said, no, but your eye out. You are not going to move any further because you are not ready to sacrifice. If you are not ready to sacrifice, you are not ready to get out of debt. So I told them, call me when you're ready. I'll be ready to help you. But until they get to the place of sacrifice, I can't help them because it's going to negate everything I try to teach them. Because especially him, because he's going to keep saying but and put up his finger. Put your finger down, open your ears and listen. But is not going to work here. But means forget everything I just said and pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say. When the person says but to you, they're telling you, oh, I don't want to hear all that. And that's what he kept doing the whole time. But wait a minute, Miss Sullivan, but. And after a few buts, I was sitting there thinking, you know, she's ready, he's not. They're not in agreement. So my encouragement to her was, sweetheart, I showed you all the debt snowball. You go ahead and work the debt snowball. You pray that God will bring him on board with you, in agreement with you. Because she can't make him, and I sure can't make him. I'm not married to him. I can't make him do anything. You have to be willing to do this. You have to be willing to do the work. Because if you do the work, it works. I told you, I'm living proof that it works. We have people in our church that have gone through it, and I've worked with them. They can tell you it works. It will help you to meet your goals in life. Some of you want to travel and do things. You saw the budget last night. Long as you're doing your debt snowball, your travel is now Travel Channel. You can go around the world from your living room. I told y'all when I was getting out of that, I went to Japan, Dubai, China. I went everywhere, and I was in my family room. But I still got to travel. I saw the sites that they paid thousands of dollars. It cost me nothing but $39.99 a month is what I pay to look at it. That is so much cheaper than paying $2,000 for the flight. Dubai is not a cheap place, one of the most expensive places in the world, actually. You could easily pay $900 a night, per night, for amenities there to stay in a beautiful and nice hotel. Those people got plenty of money. The Saudis and different ones who are the richest people in the world live in Dubai. That's why they built the Palm. I watched that on TV, y'all. I watched them build that thing. They built a city on sand. Dubai is on the water. But it's one of the most spectacular places, and people travel there, and they are in awe of it. I got to take all that in for free. Didn't cost me nothing. And I was doing my debt snowballing, getting out of debt, and I was still traveling. It was like an out-of-body experience. But I got the experience, and that's what it's about. You'll get to experience that in the flesh when you get out of debt, when you don't have that luggage on you. Let's look at the area of credit repair. This is how you do it without going through a debt collector. Debt collectors are coming after you. A credit repair service. Now, I'm not knocking them by any means. They have a job to do. There are people that will not be able to do this on their own, so they may not call for an accountability partner. They may not call for a financial life coach, but they will go to a debt eradicating company or a debt repair company. They call you on the phone. Now, these phones are supposed to weed out all of those spam calls, but every now and then I don't be looking, and I hit it and I answer. And, and there's a recording. Do you have on $20,000 in debt? Please push number 1. Well, I won't be pushing number 1 because I don't have that debt. And stop calling my phone. And then if you push number 1, you get a live person. And that's when they start to spill. I can help you get out of debt. How much debt do you have? I've got $92,000 worth of debt. Okay, we can put you on a 3 to 5 year plan. When we put you on that plan, it is only going to cost you $4,600. Well, wait a minute. Aren't you getting me out of debt? That bothered me. You're getting me out of debt, but you're going to put more debt on me to help me get out of debt. Well, why don't I be smart about it and do the math? Why don't I put that $4,600 on my $96,000 and hang up on you? If I had $4,600, I would not be calling you. I want help. Debt repair companies do not pay your debt. Let me tell you what they do. First thing they're going to tell you is stop paying those credit cards. What do you mean stop paying them? You start to get happy. Ooh, I'm going to have some money. Ooh, they told me not to pay. Is a method to their madness. Stop paying those credit cards and let them go into default. What they do then is they will call the creditor on your behalf with your permission, and they will negotiate your debt. Look, she owes $6,000. We've got $3,200. Are you willing to forgive the rest of that debt? Sometimes they will tell them yes, sometimes they will say no. So if they say no, what they do is they wait some more, and they call them. But see, they're working on your behalf, but the creditor is calling your house. Yes, Miss Jones, you owe us $212 worth of payments. Miss Jones, we are now going to take your credit rate up from 12% to 24.99%. They have the right to do that. So you are steady getting bind from your creditor, but your credit repair company is telling you don't pay them. Let it stay in default. And what they do is they tell you, this is what you have. They will compile it all down to one amount. They will put all that together in a pot, so to speak, and they'll say, okay, you have the $96,000 in debt. You have a total of $1,800 a month you pay. Send us the $1,800 a month. We're going to take care of paying your bills. I'm going to tell you from experience, because I can't talk about you, but I can talk about me. Years back, I used a debt repair service. They took my money. I paid them every month, and then I had to pay them the amount that, I forget what the amount was. It might have been something like $400 or $500 at the time. And I had to pay them on top of that every month. I had to pay them an additional fee of $125. That $125 was them taking care of repairing my credit. I could have took that $125, added to the $500 that I was paying all my bills, which were current and not behind, now in default and owing them, and they're taking my credit and buying it. My credit, I told you my credit was under 300. It was under 212. I couldn't get a pencil on credit. No one was going to loan me anything. And I'm taking this money and I'm paying them every month, and I'm paying them every month. But some of my credit cards weren't getting paid. Or they were calling me and saying, we received your payment, but it was late. So you have a $30 extra fee on your next month bill because you're late, that late fee. So I called the credit repair and I asked them, why am I getting late fees? Well, sometimes we are getting kind of behind. You don't have the right to get behind on my behalf. I'm calling on you to help me get out of debt. You're helping me get in debt deeper. I'm done with it. I'm not sending you any more money. I'm going to try to figure this thing out on my own. And that's what I did, because it started to cost me more and more. The later they got, $30 here, $30 there, $48 over there. For the city, they charge you $40. They're going to charge you starting July 1. I believe the letter said it's going to, your late fees go up to $48 a month. So every time you're late, that's $48. If you don't pay it at the next cycle, your next month, you're going to have $96 added to the third month. And it'll continue to go up. And there's interest on top of that, plus interest against the principal that you're already on your credit card in debt with. Do you see how easy it is to get deeper in debt? And you're using the company that's helping you pay your debt. Now, I'm not saying all credit repair companies are like that. The one I used was. And many complaints, and now I encourage you to Google them, and you will see. They're not always your fiduciary. And the fiduciary is a person that do financial business and transactions that benefit you. If you go to a bank, you want a bank that's a fiduciary. If you're going to invest, you want to invest with companies that are fiduciary. They aren't there on commission to get something from you. They make money when you make money, so you're both happy. Those are the people you want to work with. So I put it all out there for you. I told you last night, with finances, everything comes down to one common denominator. What was that? That other cuss word last night. It's always going to equal a decision. There's always going to be a question concerning your finances. Do I need this? And do I want this? These are two greater things before we continue on. Want versus need. Need, you need water. Even though our bodies is 85% water, we need water to survive. We need food. We need clothes, or people going to stare at you if you're walking around naked everywhere. You need that. You need shelter. So all of those are needs. Want. Wants are our desires. I want a Coach bag. I want a Louis. You know what? When I'm trying to get out of debt, I'll take a Dewey. I don't need a Louis. Last time I checked, Louis wasn't sending no checks. If I want some Manonos or batons, I will paint the bottom of my shoe red and you won't know the difference. And I thought about them the other day. I go to Payless and buy some nice stilettos and paint them red and just put my feet up. Y'all want, oh, look, she got, Doris, look at Miss Sullivan over there. Oh, she got Louboutin. You don't know I painted them 2 days ago. They look just like Louboutin. People wear red bottoms and you're not close enough to read the label on the inside. You don't know if they're Louboutins or not. It's a trick of the eye. We make people think we got money. But you know, there are people that just look like they got money. I'm like, they walk in, you're like, ooh, I know they got some money. Some of them broke as a joke. Don't have 2 nickels to rub, but they look good. And that's what we go by. We are flesh. The lust of the eye. We're always looking. And that becomes our wants and our desires. And that becomes insatiable. We don't get enough. The Bible tells us flesh never gets enough. It's always hungry for more. Whether it's clothes, purses. I have more purses than I know what to do with. No, you cannot have them. They're mine. And what are we going to do with it? I will be honest, I've given a lot of them away. But I also purchased a lot. And that's why I had a lot of debt. And even when I got out of debt, my sister was in the store one time. And I called her, and she happened to be at the Coach outlet. And she became my shopper. I said, turn your camera around, girl. Show me what they got. And I bought my purses through her. I cash apped her the money. Did you hear me? I cash apped her the money. I did not get her give the phone to the cashier and put it on credit. I had the money to pay for those purses. And then I said, either I'm going to come up there or I'm going to meet you halfway. So I met her halfway the following weekend, and I picked up my purses. You have options when you don't have no debt. You can get somebody to be your personal shopper for you. Isn't that wonderful? You're able to receive some of your wants. But while we are in debt, every day and when we're out of debt, we have to make a decision. Is it a need or is it a want? Always, especially when you are getting out of debt, always take care of the need. Before you talk to anybody about your debt, these are the walls of your house. These are the things that you absolutely need to take care of. You know you need a place to stay. Shelter is first. No matter what, you pay your rent. If you can't pay your rent, you go get rental assistance. You do whatever you have to do. You go to housing authority. They put you on the list. It might be 10 years down the road. We never know. If it's an emergency, they can help you. During the time of the pandemic, nobody could be quote unquote homeless, so they would move people up on the list. If you are a veteran, you get preference. If you have a disability, you get preference. They will, by law, put you at the top of the list. They have to. And so they will help you if needed and necessary. I will repeat what I said last night, and let me turn around and look you in the face. Do not ever be ashamed or embarrassed to go get help. If you need help, go get the help you need. If you were a taxpayer, you paid into that system. You're going to get something that you paid into. You're getting a hand up, not a hand out. Use it. When I was a single parent with my first child, the place, I know what it feels like to be on Section 8. I was on it. I know what food stamps feel like. I received them. And I used those same programs as a stepping stone to go to the next level. I didn't stay on welfare 10, 15, 20 years. It was a little under 2 years of assistance. And I did that because I used that to go and ask them for vouchers so I can put my son into child care. Put him into child care. I went to college and I went to a business school. I got more and more skills that were marketable to take into the marketplace. I went into a program called the CETA program. That CETA program also sent me to school, and it paid me a stipend. It paid you minimum wage so that it made you feel good. I was working again. All of this started, and things started going downhill simply because I got laid off from my job. And I used to work for a CPA firm. And once I was laid off, I had no choice. I had no income. I had a son. I had to feed him. I had to eat. And so I went and I got help. And they helped me with shelter, and they put me in the Section 8 program, and they gave me a voucher. I was able to go to school, get a better job. Once I received a better job, and this is how ironic and how God works, I believe, even back then. Where I used to go to get food stamps, I got a job working right across the hall from the next door to where I would pick up my stamps every month for almost 2 years. Talk about feeling good. And then I got to talk to some of the young ladies that were in line, and I was trying to encourage them, and I would tell them my story, and they was like, get a job, girl, please. They pay my child in daycare, and I'm sitting home. You sitting home doing what? Days of our life, girl. They're going to get shorter if you don't do better. I'm General Hospital. You're going to end up there because you're going to end up hurt. You're just sitting home falling over stuff. Oh, well, you know, I've been fooled. I watch Ryan's Hope, where you're living like you got no hope. I'm trying to give you some hope right now. You can do better than this. I was getting $215 a month to take care of my son and myself. I was getting $120 in food stamps. How am I supposed to live off of that with a child? My rent was $80. Thank God I had Section 8. But by the end of the month, I had more money than I had money. I still had bills that I had because I had a good job before I was laid off from that job. So you see, it only takes one life event to change your life. One. So when you get you're not getting yourself, but if you find yourself in that, you want to first pay your shelter, pay your rent. Then you want to always pay your utilities as best you can. If you are not able, in the state of Maryland, we have the MEEP program, Maryland Energy Assistance. Go and apply to get assistance. And they will give you a grant which will help take care of your utilities. They also will require you to be on a monthly pay plan. Boy, she know a lot about that because I had to use them at one point. So I know what it takes to be able to utilize them. And you have to go on a monthly pay plan. The only thing that gets me about that monthly pay plan is at the end of whichever season, heating or air conditioning, at the end of the season, the difference of what your bill actually was and what you were in agreement to pay them comes due. If I don't have the money to pay you every month, where will I get the money to pay you at the end of all this? That's when your grant will kick in. And your grant will usually absorb all of that or leave a very small amount, and that's the part you end up having to pay. So now you have your shelter, you have your utilities. If you have a job, you need to pay your car payment because you need to get to work. You got to pay for gas, keep gas in your car. When you are at the place where your back is against the wall, don't even think about your credit cards. In that sense, I'm talking to you like the credit repair company was. Because if you don't have it, you don't have it. But what you want to do is you want to talk to your creditors. So you make sure all of these are taken care of. Your four walls. If you're able to go and look for a job, you want to keep your daycare paid for. If you can no longer afford it, you can also go and apply to get vouchers to help you with daycare. If you cannot get that, you have friends. You all talk to each other. And don't be ashamed. And ask her, look, I have a job interview. Can you keep little JoJo here for give me 2 hours, an hour and a half, and I promise I'm coming right back home. Keep your word. Don't go to the mall. Go to the interview and come right back home. Don't work her nerve. Come get your child. And I say that because, we do that. We ask somebody to help us, and then you're mad because they don't want to help you ever again because you didn't keep your word. Keep your word. So those 4 things you want to make sure you take care of. If you have anything else, then you pay your debts. I'm not saying be a deadbeat, don't pay your debts. Yes, if you are able and capable, always pay your debts, always pay them on time. For credit repair, this is the process that I use, and it worked for me. So if it worked for me, it will work for you. That means it's been proven. Contact your creditor to keep them updated on your financial situation before you get over your head. Call them and talk to them. Online, you all can see the steps on the screen. And tell them your story. Tell them what's going on. I recently was laid off from my job. I am in pursuit of a new job. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do want to let you know. And ask them to please notate that on my account. So that lets them know at least you're keeping up with them. And let them know I may need some assistance in this. Is there any way you can defer my payment this month or give me a month or two to try to catch my breath? I've applied for unemployment. It has not started yet. I don't know if they're going to deny me or not. Usually if you work more than 6 months, they will allow you to get unemployment. It depends on your employer as well because they contact them and say, are you willing to pay? Some employers may not even carry unemployment insurance. So when you let go, you're stuck. You're not going to be able to apply and receive it. So you may have to go another route. But keep them abreast of what's going on. The second one, pull a copy of your credit report. We talked about this last night. Go to all 3 agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and ask them, once a year, you are entitled to a free credit report. So you go to them and you get that, and you pull your credit report and look at it. Credit Karma with the K, KARMA.com is a free website where you can legally get a copy of your credit report. But please pay attention while you are on Credit Karma. Because if you click and you look at certain things, they will ask you for your credit card number. It's free. So you keep paging down and you hit and you tell it you want the free report. You hit that link and then you start putting your information in. Make sure you get the right website. If you look at the website in the top corner to the left of https:// if you don't see a lock, that means it is not a secure site. Don't use it. You never want to put your information that doesn't have that lock because it lets you know that your information will be encrypted. That means nobody can get it. They won't be able to decipher or read your information because they've encrypted it. They've written it so that they won't understand it. So always make sure that lock is there. Another thing, you may get emails in the mail. I get them constantly. And they're offering you stuff. There are so many scammers out there. There are more scammers than people doing things legally, I believe. And you have to be wise about that. What I do is I click on the to toggle. And you start to see all these numbers, letters, and special symbols and all that. That's an indicator to you that this is not a real, true website. Most of the time, and I recently, as last year, they took a huge amount of money out of one of my accounts. And that's how they were able to do that. It's taken a year and 2 months, but the banking institution realized, they did tell me one thing they found out, that it was somebody in Russia. I found out also in doing some investigating, someone evidently sold my information. They sell your information, and my information was on the black web. Most people don't even know of such a thing. The black web is where a lot of scammers live, and they partner in that. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. And that, if you have a good banking institution, Navy Fed is one. They be on it. They call you in a hot second, and their fraud area will call and say, well, Miss Sullivan, are you in, we were in Pennsylvania. I said, no, ma'am. Were you in Delaware? Yes, 6 months ago. And I knew it was the young people that took my information when we were in Delaware. I knew it would be beyond the, like they say, you have to have it beyond the preponderance of evidence. I knew it. They took my credit card to pay for my wasn't a credit card, my debit card, to pay for my subs that I went in there at sub shop to get. But they were taking so long that I kept saying, hey, where's my credit card? I keep saying credit. I did not use a credit card. I used a debit card. And it's a Navy Fed debit card. And I kept saying, where is my debit card? Where is my debit card? I want my card back. And that's what they did. They evidently wrote my number down because I was getting, Navy Fed said, did you order all of this stuff, $2,000 on Amazon and then some $3,000 underwater camera? I said, underwater? I live in Southern Maryland. I ain't getting in that water. And I sure wouldn't be taking pictures. No, ma'am. And I wouldn't dare pay $3,000 for a camera, an underwater camera. And they were buying all kinds of equipment. I don't know what maybe they were underwater photographers. I don't know. And when I told them no, she said, okay, well, we're going to decline this. And then they told me what you need to do is freeze your account. My account has been frozen down 4 times and changed 3. First time I wouldn't change it because I'm like, why should I change it? This is mine. They did this to me. And I got a little upset behind that, but then wisdom kicked in. Okay, you can let them have your information and keep using it, or you can be smart and let them change your account, which meant all the checks I had, they were no longer any good. I had a new account. I had to wait on a new debit card. All of the inconveniences fell on me while somebody else was using my money. So you have to, use some wisdom behind those things, especially when you're doing things online. When you get these, how many of y'all get those checks in the mail? Get them checks, and they tell you cash it and send us back. Don't ever do it. It's a scam. Nobody that you don't know is going to send you a check. Let me tell you now. Out of the clear blue. Unless you had a rich 5-time cousin down the line once removed, and the family went through and they found your name and said, Cousin George left you $1 million. All you need to do is send me $700, and I'm going to make sure you get your money. You don't even know cousin George. You never met him. Why would you send somebody $750 and put it on a green dot card? That doesn't ring kind of funny to you. But people believe that. Sometimes it's not that we're gullible. We are so strapped with debt that anything that's going to give us some relief, we're going to grasp hold of and look at it as our life preserve. Change your mindset. Change your life. Use wisdom. click on the to, click on the from, and look at those lines and see, is that a real website or is that a real company? If you do get a check, go to Google, look at the bottom. There's always a number at the bottom of the check. Oh, what is their number? 255577736. That is the routing number for Cedar Point. Also, at the bottom of their checks is some other numbers, is a total of 12 numbers under there. It could be 002 added. That is called the ABA number. You put that number in Google and you'll find out if it's a real check or not. Google will let you know non-existent. So you put ABA and put that number in there and you will be able to know in the instant that it's a scam. If you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of people don't know this stuff. And especially our older folks. They are scammed. I heard on Channel 7 News, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, the young lady with her father, they scammed him out of over $200 and some thousand, his life savings. Broke my heart. Where was his daughter then? Why wasn't she checking up on his finances? We can't leave them to themselves. We've got to help our parents. You know, they helped us when we were young. As they age, then it's our turn. I tell my kids, what happened, God forbid, if I end up with dementia? Who's going to take care of my money? I'm going to pray about it and think about it, but I don't know one of them. One of them will have to step up and take care of that because they will have to take care of me. They will have to take care of all of them. I don't know which one it'll be, but it will be the one that is financially savvy. You can bet that. Amen. Going to know how to take care of what I have stewarded over all these years. And if they're not there, could it be we didn't teach them? So what you're learning today, you're charged now to teach the next generation. You're going to teach her, hopefully. You know, and if you don't know, sit with somebody that does. Don't be afraid to go seek wisdom or what we call advice from somebody. Oh, I'm going to say this. Don't get mad at me. Don't y'all hang up. Don't y'all say, oh, I'm done with it. No, you hang in there. It's going to get good. Don't talk to broke people about money. Broke people can teach you to be broke. They can't give me advice on money because they don't have any. Talk to somebody that has it. How did you get your money? You know what? Warren Buffett is my friend. We've never met. He don't even know he's my friend. But I read Warren Buffett stuff a lot. I go to TED Talks. I've listened to Warren Buffett. I've listened to his advice. Warren Buffett is a very smart man, and he's one of America's richest men, along with Jeff Bezos. He hasn't written anything yet, and he probably never will. He's busy making money. And what really got my goat is during the pandemic, these 3 years, billionaires became even richer off the backs of the American people. Bezos really became rich because he knew we were afraid to go out and get groceries. So they started where they would deliver stuff to you. Amazon wasn't doing that at first, but that gave him an idea. Then it caught on. Walmart started delivering groceries. All of the stores, you could just do it and write it online, and we will bring it to your house. You can also shop for them. Instacart. If you didn't want to go out, and at the beginning, just about people were just afraid. And rightfully so, people were dying. So they would call, or they would go online and they would do Instacart. And people would go, and you never even saw the person unless your camera showed them coming up on your property, and they would leave the groceries at your door. And all you had to do is pick your groceries up, take them in the house, and you were happy. Those days aren't over, because now those services are called services of convenience. And remember, anything convenient, check 7-Eleven, costs you more. 7-Eleven is open 7-Eleven, they never close. And they cost you more. Your coffee's going to cost you more to run in there because it's so convenient at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Starbucks isn't open. But they have a premium on their charges because of the fact they are so convenient. A couple years ago, I was baking the cake when we first had 7-Eleven here, and they were down here on Great Mills Road when we first came here in 91. And I ran over there, and I was like, this was in 91, almost $3 for a little, and I do mean little. The box was this big, and I did pay for it because I was making the cake, and I needed the vanilla. I opened the box, and the vanilla was like that. It was a half an ounce that I paid all that money for. You pay for convenience. So remember that. When you're getting out of debt, no. You DIY. Do it yourself. Go to the grocery store. You don't have to pay a tip, and you don't have to pay a delivery fee. They have services now, and these are actually some ideas you'll get when we get to entrepreneurship before we end today. People started services like picking up people's laundry, going to the laundry and dropping it off for them. And they started making money. They created their own LLC, sole proprietors. They did their own little companies off of convenience, convenient pays. You find how you can serve a person, and in exchange, they will pay you. Everybody has a need. There are people with disabilities that cannot get out. They cannot walk. They're in wheelchairs. Some of them are incapacitated, but they still can use their mind. They still can use computers with their hands. Some of them have apparatus that they can use computers. They can speak, and it'll type in their order and things for them. And they use people of convenience. They use these services, and they pay for it. And then on top of that, they usually give a tip. So you can even make money like that. So second, you're going to pull a copy of your credit report from all three agencies, and you're going to study your credit report. 3, correct errors you find on your credit report by disputing them. When you dispute errors, if the creditor does not respond in 30 days, the reporting agency will remove that debt from your credit report. Keep good notes. So what you want to do, the first time you pull your credit report, you want to take a look at it and say, I told you last night, they had my name as Doris E. Sullivan. I don't know who she is, but she wasn't me. My middle initial is D. That in and of itself could cause you a lot of problems, because there's somewhere in this world there is a Doris E. Sullivan. And our credit reports may be being mixed up. I had things on my credit report that were not mine. I had never seen them before, never heard of the companies before. And so online, if you go to each one of these credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, if you page down on their website, you'll see a line for dispute. You click that and you write who the creditor is, what's owed, all the information you have on it, and you submit it and tell them you're disputing that. They will contact your creditor about that debt. Once they contact that creditor about that debt, then they are going to talk to them about removing it. If they say that, no, this wasn't her or him, they'll give them your social, and they'll find out, well, you're correct. And then they will remove it. If that creditor does not reply to the credit reporting agency within that 30-day period, they will remove that, and you can request it. So keep good notes. Put your date, who you talked to. I put my date, I put who I spoke to, I put the time I talked to them, I put how long, because your phone counts up. I put how long. If I talk to you 3 minutes or 9 minutes, I put that on there because that is a proof that I didn't just call somebody and hang up. I'm showing them I did my due diligence. I looked into it. In 30 days, you call them and say, hey, look, I haven't heard from you. What's going on with my dispute? And they were, well, we didn't hear back from them. Okay, now I want to request that you remove that off my credit report. So boom, gone. That's one piece of bad credit you've gotten rid of. 4, ask the creditor to forgive interest and late fees or reduce them. I had so much fun doing this, y'all. I can't tell you how much fun I had doing this. I negotiated my own debt with my creditors. I would call them and I said, look, first you got to save up the money. You got to have the money. You can't fake the phone. You got to have the funds to pay these people with. So what I did is I would call them up and I said, look, I owe y'all $2,000. I have $600 and that's all I got. You can take this $600 or you are going to have to charge it off. I said charge off. That means they know I know a little bit about what's going on in the financial world. Use those buzzwords. And the guy said to me, oh, we can't take no $600. It's $2,000. I said, well, what will it take? Well, he said, you got $800? I said, no, I got $600. He said, call me when you get $800. And we hung up. I waited a couple of days and I called back. And I got somebody else. And I told him, I said, look, I done saved up this money, and this is all I got. I got $675. So I had $75 more. And she goes, well, your debt outstanding is $2,000. I said, but I got $675. You've been getting zero. She said, okay, if you can give me your account and I can withdraw the $675. Absolutely, positively not. N-O-T, not is a negative word. Receive it. Never, ever, never, ever, never, ever. Did I say never? Never give them your financial information. Never give them access to your bank account. Never give them access to a credit card. Never. Because back in the day, when I didn't know any better, I gave a company my bank account information so that they could do an ACH. They took every dollar that was in my account. Which you know what that did? I had bills on auto pay, which meant my bills went without being paid. And I paid the penalty of late fees and everything. Even though I called people and told them what happened, they were like, okay, you missed your payment. Nice story, lady, but you missed your payment. They don't care about your story. They want their money. They are a business. They are not in the emotional business. If you want emotion, they'll tell you call a counselor. Don't call us. Call us when you got the money to pay us. I paid the price so that you won't have to. That's why I'm up here with this information for you today, to help you not to fall into the pitfalls that I fell into back then. I know better now. That ain't going to happen ever again. I don't plan to get in no kind of debt that I cannot pay, debt that's not manageable. I'm never going to get in over my head again. I can promise you that. I promise myself that. So you ask them, you negotiate your debt with them. If they continually say no, it's okay. Keep calling them. The story in the Bible is the woman kept going to the judge's house and knocking and knocking. And he said, go away, you bother me. And she still came back knocking. I want my son, my son, my son. Ah. And he kept telling her, go away, you bother me. Well, one day she came and knocked, and he opened the door. And he said, what can I do? And she told him, and she got what she came for. Keep calling them. Eventually, you're going to get what you came for. I went from 600 to 675. He still didn't get 800, and I didn't pay the 2,000. Persistence constantly will pay off no matter what it is. So call them and ask them. And also, some things you have to realize you may get forgiveness for, but you will also receive a form called a 1098. And on your taxes, you've got to file that 1098. And that 1098 is the forgiveness. So, if they forgave you $2,000 and you make $30,000 a year, you now make $32,000 a year. They forgave you, but on your taxes, it becomes income. And you're going to pay Uncle Sam on that too. So you got forgiven of your debt, but now you're going to pay it at a higher rate because depending on what your tax bracket is, you're going to pay for it. So it's funny to me how you can get taken care of one way and seemingly taken another way. But this is how finances work. The government is saying, we're going to get a piece of that because that company forgave you. So keep that in mind when you're also doing your negotiations and depending on what type of company. In 2008, when the bubble burst and they had the houses that weren't selling and people were underwater, they had more debt on their house than their houses were worth. Those people, some of them, when they refinanced, and some of them walked away from their houses, they could file for forgiveness. And a lot of them got it. If you have a $400,000 house and you were forgiven for it, whatever your income is that year, that 1098 had that $400,000 that you were forgiven for on it. Sometimes it's better to struggle through trying to work with the finance companies and the mortgage companies to work on getting that debt current than it is to add that forgiveness to what you already are making. That will put you in a way higher, if you're making $32,000 a year, now you're going to add that to $400,000. If I can't pay on that $2,000 that they forgave me, how will I pay on $432,000 now? Because that's going to be a big tax bill unless you got 7,000 children, dependents or so, to be able to help bring that down, or you're giving a lot of money. Yes, ma'am. That's true. Well, if you don't pay taxes, you still may owe on that because that becomes your income for the year. And it also may impact, amen. You ask your question again. Yes, ma'am.
You got to be kidding.
Yes, ma'am. Because of the fact that it was forgiven, it becomes income. And I've worked with people and going through their taxes. I've worked with people that have had things like this happen. Then they have to go to the government and they get on a payment plan. Can you imagine how long it's going to take you to pay that off on a fixed income? And as a Christian, I say if you have a fixed income, unfix it. No limits. No limits. You don't have to live off a fixed income unless you like living off a fixed income.
It's not that. It's just that I can't work, period. I just can't.
Can you think?
See, that's not funny.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm asking you that for a reason. Can you write? Can you type?
I can't type. Writing, I can write, but reading and writing is not good for me because I have severe migraines. So, yeah, and I have The migraines debilitate me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So I used to do hair. I used to drive tractor trailers, all that good stuff. I cannot go back to work.
Okay.
So
Now,
home is where I am. And allergies, indoor and outdoor, no matter what time of year it is. So
I get that.
I have to
understand
stay
that.
home.
Okay.
So with that is what I'm saying. Why do I have to even pay that back to the government?
Well, you may not have to, and you may. The government will hold us responsible even when we can't pay. They will. You have to negotiate and talk with them and work with them to figure it out. They may forgive that too if they see that you're deemed not able to pay it at all. Or they may make you pay a portion of it according to what your income is. Even if they say you're going to pay us $25 a month and we need you to pay $5,000 of that. I'd rather pay on the $5,000 than on $400,000.
I
That's
get that.
negotiating. And find out what gift you have within yourself. You would be amazed.
Well, I can do that 25, but that's probably about all I can do.
And they may tell you you're only going to pay $1,000 at $25. It's going to take you a while. But just do, you just do what you can do. And when you're talking to them, they will help you figure it out. When I'm like you, I have a disability. You may not can see it, but I have fibromyalgia, and I have it. I mean, even my eyelashes hurt. Every muscle in this body hurts every day. But I get up, I keep moving, I keep doing. And there is something on the inside of you that you can actually take to the marketplace and never leave your home. Even though I have arthritis in my hands, God gifted me with the gift of sowing. And I can make anything. I can create things to make. You like to do what? Cook and bake. Do you know how many people started their business out of their homes making cupcakes? It's a young lady. Oh, really? You can teach. You can sit in front of a camera, in front of your cell phone, and teach. Well, you're not. You're talking to your phone. Some people I can help, some I just pray for. Oh, my goodness. Well, when you get to the place, do you have debt? Okay. If you have debt, when you get to a place of being tired and sick and tired of debt, debt will encourage you. Encourage you to want to get out of debt when I finish. That's what I'm saying. Do you know there are companies that hire people to be friends, that some children pay to have someone call their mom or their dad who's elderly because they just need a friend to talk to? You could start your own business. Yes. Visiting Angels is one company that does. The people go for 2 hours and they make $15 an hour. No, I'm not saying you're doing it. I'm giving you ideas. And you can have people work for you. You don't have to work. I had a babysitting service at 12 years old. I got my friends jobs with my friends that needed babysitters. They had to pay me part of their money. I was 12 and an entrepreneur. But you're not doing that anymore now. There are more children. Again, there are some I can help. There are some I pray for. understand that, but I said, but not into forget. Oof.
If I go watch these kids, bad as these kids are already in there, by the time they leave my house, they be so well mannered. No.
And that's a good thing. And there's a parent out here that needs you.
And forget what I done taught. See, and then they come back to me, don't know.
It's something I believe wholeheartedly.
I'd rather them people call me and we talk for hours. I'd rather do that.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm not going to nobody's house.
Exactly. You know, there are jobs you can work from home today. The pandemic has opened up a whole new avenue.
I read them all. The only one I could do, like you said, let them elderly people call me and have a conversation.
No, you call them. They give you a list, and you have clients that you call.
I can do that.
See? Look at this. We found you a job.
And now I got to find it online. I'll do that. I'll do nothing else at home.
Listen very carefully to me. You don't have to find it, you create it. You start your own company. You put it online. You have your children put it online for you. You will be amazed how many elderly people just need a voice to say good morning. How are you doing today? Somebody that cares on the other end. Old people like you.
I ain't old.
No, I said they like you. You said I like old people. Well, old people like you.
I know I got to leave you.
See? I just gave you a job. You can become an entrepreneur overnight. It doesn't cost a lot to start an LLC. Few bucks.
Okay.
You can go from being, listen to me. If you do it, you just unfix your fixed income. That's why you're here. Come and get ideas. God asked Moses.
I told you that boy was somewhere.
He's back there. He's back there in the sound booth. God asked Moses, what do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hand?
A lot of faith.
Amen. Faith without works is dead. It means nothing. You have to activate your faith.
I was trying to figure it out. I would have got to that point.
Amen. You're getting there right now. You're going to leave here an entrepreneur. You're going to start your own business. I can lead a horse to water. I can't make him drink it because if I hold his head down, he drowns. So, hopefully that encourage you as well as help you. And you'll be able to get your debt paid for because when you start and look, let me tell you. You can do it on Zoom. Some of my meetings for my clients is on Google Meet. We can see each other face to face. We talk. They email me their budgets. I go over their budgets line upon line, precept upon precept, like the Bible says with them. And we go over everything. I probably know their finances better than they do. Because, see, I be keeping track because I let them know. Don't I let you know? So why did you spend that? Was that in our budget? Because it becomes our budget because I'm their partner now. Help. Amen. And that's good. That's excellent. So once you've negotiated and they reduce your fees and they do all that, you want to also gather all the money again that you can to negotiate with so you will have it. Ask them to settle the account, and usually, of course, it's done for pennies on a dollar. If the debt is if it's outstanding, not so much if your account is in good standing. They are not going to negotiate with you because they're going to be like, you paying, you don't have a problem. And if you have a financial situation, the first thing you do is call your creditor and make them aware of it so that they don't think you're just, putting them off or I'm just not going to pay y'all this month. Don't be that person. Especially as a Christian, our credit report speaks to who we are before people ever meet us. in the marketplace, in business. It also can cause you to be denied a job. If you don't work for the government, now you have to have a confidential or at minimum or a secret clearance. When you do your SF-81, you must also fill out about your financial situation, because they're not going to give you a job if you are a financial risk. If you have a lot of debt, you might take a bribe. So they would not hire you. So your financial background also can stop you from moving ahead in your career. So you want to clean up your debt. You want to use the debt snowball and get out of debt as much as you can and as fast as you can. Debt is like somebody chasing after you. You don't stand still when somebody's chasing after you with a knife. You run. Debt is the same way. Run with it. Get it over as quick as possible. Remember the relay race. You're the last person on the end because you got the power to take it over the finish line. You want to take your debt over the finish line. If the creditor is unwilling to settle, wait a while again. Keep calling them. Keep being persistent. And eventually, they will be willing to settle. You want to always request a letter stating the account was paid as per agreed. And that's what you want them to put on your credit report. You don't want them to put settled. That's a strike against you. Could you please send me a letter? Email me. I used to ask them to email me. You get enough junk in the mail. And I give them my email address. That's the only access I give them. They would never get a bank account. They would never get a credit card number. I was burned once. I will never be burned again.
What about when they keep asking, pay them right then and there? What if you do tell them I will bill for money for?
Well, I'm agreeing with you that I am willing to settle this with you. I will send you a check. I will send you a cashier's check, not a personal check. You want to go to the bank and get a cashier's check made out to them. And then you send it. If they don't want to accept that, they're not ready to play. Tell them you're going to another field. I'm going to the next creditor I have. And you let them know that so they know they're not alone. That sometimes put a fire under them to want to say, okay, I better take this money. At least I'm going to get it in 2-3 days. And so they will usually say yes. And then you follow through. We always follow through. We go to the bank, we get that cashier's check, we put it in the mail, we send it to them, and you give them 4 or 5 days, and then you call them and say, are you in receipt? You may not even get the same person. You might get there. They give you their information, and you keep calling that same person. That's the best thing to do because they know you got some sort of relationship established with them. And you call them and say, hey, look, I put the check in the mail. Are you in receipt of it? Oh, give me a minute. Oh, yes, ma'am. We received your payment. Now, that's when you ask them. You ask them when you're negotiating, and they've accepted it. Now that they received it, you want to make sure, ask them again. I would like you to email me or put in the mail a letter stating that this account was paid as per agreed. I also would like you to add that to my credit report. And you also can add statements to your credit report when you look at them. If you've had somebody steal your ID, you can put that on your credit report, or you can have the credit reporting agency do that. I had to have them put a statement on my account because somebody did steal my ID and was able to get that money out the bank. Of course. Mm-hmm. And the audit is fine. If you've done nothing illegal, you got nothing to worry about it. It's just going to show A, B's, and C's, and we're done with it. And they'll close the audit. It's hard when someone else steals your identity. It is such a breach. It not only breaks your heart, but it almost tries to break your spirit. It is hard. But you can overcome that too. I've had to do it. You know, and I'm sitting there like a person put over $13,000 on my credit card. I had to suck it up and pay it. Even though she said she's going to repay me, it's been 4 years. I received 2 payments. After that, she stopped paying me. Because I did my research and I found out who did it. And she had a pseudo company that was doing home repairs and home remodeling and improvement. Well, my house didn't need no improvement. I had nothing done to it except for what we did ourselves. And I kept calling the credit card company and telling these people, I am not dealing with this company. I've never dealt with them. I'm going to put their name out there because they already got a bad name, Wells Fargo. They slicksters, I tell you. They've been sued a lot because of their practices. And they tend to believe the other people over you. And you have the credit card. And I kept telling them, this is my credit card. Do not pay another dime. Don't accept another payment. Well, they accepted 16 more requests that they approved after I called about 10 times saying don't. I ended up having to pay $12,945 for the principal. And I had to pay another $680 for the interest on that money. And not $1 of that was me, not 1 cent. And still waiting right now for them to take care of it. But I believe they're going to take care of it because I will take them to court. I will go against big industry, small industry, big people, little people, because right is right. And you have the legal right to do that when you've been wrong. Suing simply means you're going to put me back in the state I was in prior to you impacting my life or your life. That's all it means. It's not a bad thing to sue. And Christians, yes, you can sue people. It's a legal thing to do. It's legal in the earth, so we're able to do that. Sometimes we have to do that. So prayerfully, none of you here or out there will ever have to go through that. But if you do, now you know what you have to do to take care of it and get that off your back. I told you yesterday, concerning debt, people used to say with drugs, they have a monkey on their back. When you have a lot of debt, it's a full-grown gorilla. And he get heavy. You want him off your back as soon as possible. Because one thing about a gorilla, when they hug, they got tied on long, long nails. As they hug you, they tearing you up. That's what debt do. It tears up. It destroys marriages. It destroys families. It destroys friendships. You know, if you borrow from a family member and you don't pay them back, Thanksgiving dinner is never the same until you pay them back. And even when you pay them back, sometimes they still looking at you with the side eye. She brought them potatoes. She didn't pay me my money. Them potatoes taste a little different. I ain't eating them. Because your heart changes. We want to pay people. And we don't avoid people that we owe. You know you owe them. Stop buying Timbs and pay them. I'm like, man, how can somebody borrow? You help them in their time of need, but every time you go by, you come by Tuesday, they make sure they're not home. Just to avoid paying you. It's easier to pay the person and get done. And if you cannot, talk to them, especially your family members. You know, don't destroy your family over $20 for gas. Talk to them and say, look, girl, I just don't have it. Dude, you see what I'm going through right now, right? Okay. When I get straight, you're going to be straight. And then keep your word. When you get up on your feet, give them back that $20. It's not a lot of money. I told you yesterday, every time you go to the store and you break $1 or a $5 bill,